Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, Philip. How are you? Hello, hello, hello. All right. I had to talk to my daughter for a second. Just getting started, so I'll let you know when I know. That's fair. That is 100% fair. Hey, Jelly. Good morning. Thank you for the kind words on TikTok. I appreciate it, Jelly. Yes, he absolutely is. Absolutely is. I just can't believe how bad this guy is. And I cannot believe how bad literally everyone is going to suffer because of his idiocy. Like, again, it's really one of those, like, is it really surprising? Hey, Kelly. How are you? GOP appearances on the Sunday political news were abysmal, and I'm here for it. It was like, how can you call yourself a master negotiator when you fail this much and this bad? Like, that is just absolutely insane to me. Of course. Good morning, Canadian dad. I'm good. How are you? I'm good. What's Canada? I remember that's a storm of North Minnesota. Canada and Sesame Street. That's fair. What did he do this time? He failed to renegotiate a trade deal with Canada, so now we've got 50. Both of us have put 50% tariffs on each other. So that's great. Dearborn is shocking you. What do you mean? How? Because he's an idiot. That's how. Hey. Hey, wee woo. Good morning, Mustang. Yes, we are, Jelly. With the new agency I'm with, I need to make sure I'm going as much. I did hear Jake got arrested. That's crazy. Yeah, the art of the deal, right? Does my wife's lover have to approve of this? I don't know. I'll have to ask him. Good morning, Silver. Jake's face when he got arrested, right? No. Are we getting a song this week? Like, whose song? Like my song? The song that I wrote? No, we're not getting it this week. No. why you think I'd even entertain the idea of someone whose first comment comment in here is to pretend that is to insinuate that my wife is cheating on me is kind of hilarious. Much louder. Oh, it's not loud over here? I can louden. Well, I can't louden me up that much. That's weird. I mean, it looks like I'm pretty loud over there. Oh, well. What tariffs did he put? I put 50% tariffs on Canada. As far as I know, it's on most things. Seriously, congratulations to Florida for that very shocking. Yeah. All right, dude. How will this affect the average American consumer? A lot. So a lot of our paper comes from Canada. We'd get alcohol from Canada. We get a lot of dairy from Canada. We get potash from Canada. We get oil, although I'm sure he's not gonna put tariffs on oil. We get quite a bit from Canada. Lots of lumber. Some places get electricity. I don't know if they're going to be putting tariffs on the electricity, but maybe they are. That'd be weird. Oh yeah, Canada is pissed. Canada is insanely pissed. They're talking about an 18-month blackout. Dang. You're about here. I did. I have some friends who are running for office in Indiana, and I have been talking to them about it. We're probably going to put something together. Maple syrup. Yep. It's a lot of stuff. We get a lot. But of course, people don't realize that. He put 50% tariffs on Wakanda for vibranium. You know, just shows he doesn't care. Just doesn't care. How are Canadian leaders responding? Most of Canada is pissed off and is basically like, just put tariffs on their stuff back. Cars, probably, because a lot of car parts and stuff come from Canada. Aluminum, a lot of aluminum comes from Canada. A lot of aluminum comes from Canada. And you are better, right, at negotiating than Trump? Yes. My trash can could negotiate better than Trump. So I'm way better than he is. What about this imported beef? Will it be inspected? That's a good question. Oh, it absolutely never had to happen, Jeff. Potash is a big thing. Yeah, especially since we're not getting fertilizer from the Middle East too. So will it push Canada to work with China more? More? Like basically every country that we have really strong ties with is starting to create trade deals and trade routes with other countries like China. So it's not going to make them do it more. They're just going to keep doing it. There's no reason for them to stop. But yes, potash is definitely going to be a big thing. Did he tariff the penguins again? No, he didn't tariff the penguins again. I heard Canada wants tariffs on red states only. We'll find out. We'll find out. We're taking an even harder stance. I hear you, Cindy. Yeah. The question is, how plausible will that be? Because they could easily find ways around that. So I'm not sure how easy of a tariff red states thing that you can do, but who knows if they can do it. More power to them. Sure, it was. What's your opinion on the Florida primary? I thought, I thought a lot of interesting things happened. You know, I think there is a definite possibility for a blue wave in Florida. Won't blue states just offset the loss to red states? Not sure how, but that's why I say I'd be very interested to see how they could make that. No, with Canada. Not with China, with Canada. Florida's sick and tired of DeSantis. Florida, a lot of people are suffering in Florida. Can you explain what the discussion between Jeffries and Kushner was? Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look fully into that. Let's see if we can find out. I know Jeffries made an announcement about it. Why do I hate Trump so much? Because he is a horrible human being who lacks humanity. He's a grifter. He doesn't care about the suffering of people that he is supposed to represent. He's the president. You expect us not to pay attention to what the president's doing? What do you think we should be doing? Yes, Carolyn. Yes, it is. No. That's not literally this country has never done that. Cryo. It literally goes against every ounce of what this country has been its entire life. Did you shut up when Biden was president? No, I'm sure you didn't. So this is, let's see. Basically, Jeffries and Kushner had a meeting, and this was Jeffries' response. Throughout this Congress, Republicans have adopted a my way or the highway approach to governing that has failed the American people. In every conversation that we have with the Trump administration, we will continue to make it explicitly clear that the affordability crisis is not a hoax, and nothing short of transformational policy change is acceptable. That's all he said. So I don't know. I don't know. You're right. This guy debates nobody because I'm not a debate channel. Never have been. What are you talking about? We're in bed with China as much as Canada has ever been. Hell, we do more trade with China than Canada does. What are you talking about? Not true, but I didn't say I hated Biden. What? I don't even know what you're talking about, Rick. Man, some people are really obsessed with me. It's kind of, you know, honoring, I guess, how obsessed some of these people are. Hey, Di.
Well, the Monday morning crazies are here early.
They and the funny thing is these people keep coming back. Like they're that obsessed that they keep coming back. It's kind of funny.
What are you starting on TikTok earlier now?
Well, yeah, I've got that. Now that I'm part of that agency things, part of what goes on with it is having to do a certain amount of days and certain amount of hours if I want to actually succeed. So I've got to do more. I've got to do more live here. So there you go.
All righty. That
And
explains it.
Here we are.
Hey, Di.
Hi, good morning. Hi, Scott. Good morning.
Good morning, sweetheart. How are you?
Yeah, you know, so far. Yeah, I got to go to PT here in a little bit, so I'm kind of bummed.
What percentage of Canadian manufacturing business will relocate? None. None.
Yeah, did the negotiations fall apart there with Canada, though? I thought I'd read that somewhere.
Oh,
yeah. Yes.
Did they? Well, I've not caught up on
I know
it.
you're shocked. I know you're absolutely shocked that somehow the master negotiator, who has negotiated, well, no good trade deals, he failed at this one too.
Oh my gosh, I'm so surprised.
No, they haven't. Blackjack. 42.6% have not already moved all their manufacturing over here.
What the heck? Jeepers
Really?
creepers.
Well, wait a second. If they've moved 46.2% of their manufacturing over here, why is the Trump administration having a net loss jobs in the manufacturing sector? Biden added 2.23 million jobs in his last year. Trump has flatlined, and we have negative growth in manufacturing jobs. So how do those two statistics work out? I know my statistic is correct. How about yours?
Listen, Scott, I'm going to need you to stop using facts, okay? I'm going to need that. No more
It
facts.
confuses them, Di. I like to use facts. I like to use facts and words with more than 3 letters. They get confused.
Yep. Yeah, it was hilarious. It was all that's why I had fun making the video today. Guys, if you haven't gone and checked out my video today, I got some good behind the scenes footage that y'all got to see. It's right when Trump's negotiating team heard that Canada rejected their proposal.
Well, Mr. Payne says, Dolan, where did you get that from? The Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you can get it yourself from them. How do you like that, Mr. Payne?
It's like just too early, and it's Monday morning, and they're coming in and they're being dumbasses. Like,
I mean,
what?
it's about 15 minutes in. That's pretty normal. About 15 minutes is when the FYP starts getting thrown everywhere. Canada in the
Yikes.
house.
Yay, we love you, Canada. I'm trying to learn the national anthem for O Canada. That's my favorite national anthem, seriously.
Well, it's actually a pretty good tune. You've heard it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a nice tune. I think our national anthem should be America the Beautiful rather than the Star Spangled Banner, but that's just me. Because I think America the Beautiful is a song that everybody can sing. I think it's a beautiful song, period. And it doesn't talk about some drink water war that we really lost.
Right. Or slaves.
Why would we move to Canada? We're American. Again.
And that second part too is really high. Sorry, Mike.
No, you're fine.
My Star Spangled Banner.
Again, you look at the history of this country from literally its beginning. is people not liking what's going on and doing something to try and fix it. That's how this country works. And just because you don't like what we're against and you're obsessed with a person as though he has ever done anything good in his entire life means that we should just leave. Come on, dude.
I'm not leaving. You all need to leave.
Cryo, you obviously don't understand the difference between a civil lawsuit and criminal. Doesn't mean
dear.
anything. He still committed it. It's just one's the state, the other is a person.
Civil is about monetary damages and criminal, well, we all know what criminal is.
Loss
But
of
it's two different
freedom.
phrases describing the same actions.
Yep.
Again, just because you are okay protecting a guy who committed rape does not mean that you are okay. You were just salty. Kamala lost? No.
What? Cheapers.
Why would you think someone losing the presidency would have anything to do with me being upset that a rapist is the president?
Now Mr. Payne says, Dolan, we will report you and your treasonous acts.
No.
I never knew it was treason to quote the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And will somebody please get rid of Mr. Payne? Because he's just made a threat. And report him.
Oh, goodness. Yep, things are getting
And he ain't coming back.
yay. That's libel, not true. Oh my gosh. My goodness. Google's your friend, buddy.
They don't know how to Google.
That's libel. You do realize the two people sitting in the box here are both lawyers, don't you? Dum-dum?
No, they don't care. They're Chat GPT lawyers.
They don't.
Yeah, I think we know what libel is, and I think we know what treason is. Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law is in the Canadian Forces. Please educate. Or I'm assuming you're not talking to us, Tina.
What, they asked them to stop using French? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Hey, we got
You
problems.
really hope Trump really is a... Oh my gosh. I cannot believe you guys are saying that out loud. Like,
maybe it's a bot.
I don't really care. Like, there are people that say that is the crazy thing. Like, do you actually hear yourself? You sit here and you talk about wanting freedoms, and then you go, I would love a dictator.
Well, when's the next what's it called when the moon takes over the sun? I'm sorry, it's early.
Solar eclipse, lunar eclipse?
Yes,
Solar eclipse.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was gonna go crazy in a minute. All right, we need another solar eclipse. That's what we need. And then we want everyone in the red hats, look up. Just look up for a while. Just follow what he's doing. And you can do it too, all right? And then come back after that.
Good morning, Carrie.
And you have to pay your own medical bills.
But yeah, I mean, again, was I surprised that this whole thing happened with Canada? No, of course not. It literally was, it's just everything that, literally the worst negotiator I've ever experienced in my life. Like, when I know that I could negotiate things better than he could.
I wonder how in-depth the negotiations went with this pool boy in the reflecting pool, because that worked out well for us. Apparently, a $1.2 million bid turned into a $16.4 million botched job. You know, it lasted all of 72 hours. I wonder how much negotiation went into that.
What do you mean Canada doesn't have a negotiator?
Oh dear.
What?
That's what happens when you hire your friends to do a job, though. Straight up, Scott. That's what happens.
Yes, our negotiations are usually handled by Jared and Steve Witkoff, who are really batting 1,000. They failed in Russia. They
Oh my
failed in
gosh.
Ukraine. They failed in Gaza. They failed with NATO. I mean, let's just keep giving them more jobs because they can just keep failing.
So it's bad to beautify American landmarks now when we're spending money we don't have? Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather have food for children. Is that okay? Who do they have from Canada, can I ask? Because it's not that hottie anymore, right?
I don't know who was involved in the negotiations for Canada.
They do have a new prime minister, though, don't they?
Well, Rick
Yes.
says to stop the Trump hate and respect your president. You know what? I
Ooh.
respect the office of the presidency, Rick. I do not respect this president. But I'll tell you what, you let me know when he actually does something that is worthy of respect, and I'll be happy to respect it.
I'm too busy respecting Joe Biden. I don't have any more room left.
I love it how someone's name is literally under God, and their response to Di saying food for children is to tell her to shut the F up. Like, do you
What happened? I mean, if you're Christian, shame on you with the
Wow.
fishes and the loaves, right?
And hey, Aeronautical, how are you doing, buddy? Yeah, well, maybe you need to go pray, because obviously you don't know what the hell you're doing.
That's right. Oh, it doesn't like you. Well, you know, get in line, Bubba.
Thanks, Pina. Look, I am, as we've said before, we are willing to call out anyone that makes shit choices. I don't care what letter is next to your name. I'm not a Democrat, technically never have been, because I've always lived in a place where being an independent, there was some method for me to vote in primaries. So what do you guys think when Democrats didn't stand when asked if their priority? Oh my gosh, dude. What did I think? I don't care. I care what laws they pass. I care what their budgets do. I don't care what they do during a friggin' shit show of a speech. Why do you think that matters in any way, shape, or form? If that's your argument, you don't have a clue what the hell you're talking about.
Okay, somebody in here said it was Mark Carney.
Is the Prime Minister of Canada, yes.
Yeah, he's Prime Minister.
Thank you. Writing it down.
And he has become very quietly and very quickly, he's become a bit of a world statesman. He hit a home run at where was it? The NATO conference.
Oh yeah. Silver said
he was awesome.
Silver said on the other side that talking about RFK's ringtone. Did you guys see that video?
No.
His ringtone on his phone was a duck quacking, and it went off during one of his media speech things. Like he was just speaking in front of everyone. It just started going off. I wish I'm illegal so I mattered to Democrats. Dude, just go away. No, like seriously. Go play with yourself in your mom's basement or something. They bought the Gord.
You're right. The World Economic Forum. I apologize. You're right. I knew it was somewhere in Europe.
They bought the Gordon Howe Bridge. Trump closed it. We demanded a renegotiation. So it closed for TW. I don't know what TW means.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh.
Maybe I have no idea either. You know, I wonder if all of the people for the last couple of decades that said don't go after Iran because of this issue with the Strait. So for the last 20 years, they're like, don't do it. And so now they're actually seeing what would happen and that they were right not to do it. I'm hoping they start writing books about it.
10 billion all paid by them, not no closed. I still don't understand how anyone can. He stalled it because his friend had the only crumbling bridge. Oh, you guys paid for it? Well, you guys should get some money then for it. You guys should get all the money for it. You guys should
I wonder
charge
how
for
many-
people to cross it.
I agree. Put up a toll.
Did you watch the
Although I do-
race yesterday? No.
Oh
I
my
did see
gosh.
a clip of him behind like 12,000 walls waving a green flag while they went, and that almost no one could see, just to it's literally like you are trying to appease a man child whose brain is not fully functioning. He's like, here's a green flag, you can wave it and be like they're starting for you, and he's just like, yeah. Hey, Linda.
You know, I do wonder, we've had a lot in the news lately about his, britches and various things. And my question is, do you think and I'm just in general, do you think that every time though he gets up and goes about his business, he thinks about someone that might come in, unalive him? You think he's worried about that, or security's tight, or they were like made up, or what? I'm just curious.
Well, it doesn't seem to cut back on his public appearances. No, I mean, I'm sure, like any president, it's always in the back of his mind.
Mhm.
But it hasn't appeared to have cramped his style in any way.
There's definitely someone that is nervous. The fact that they are placing surface to air interceptor systems when he's playing golf at his golf course means somebody, whether it's him or someone else in his administration, there seems to be some worry about something.
I can't remember which president it was. I was watching this documentary on the presidents that just didn't have any cognitive way of answering things, but they're still president. And one, I can't remember which one it was, but one, they were I think it was Reagan. Oh my gosh, where the wife held on to the nuclear codes. Like everybody knew something was wrong with them, but they didn't want to leave those open. And I thought, oh, civilian carries around the case now. I thought that was really, interesting. Fact check me on that. I can't remember the president, but I think it's interesting. People have to, just kind of dance around him in order to go forward.
Are you talking about? So it sounds like Aeronautical thinks is Reagan.
It might have been Reagan.
I have not heard that Nancy Reagan had control of the nuclear football. That I haven't heard.
Well, take a look. It might not
Yeah,
be.
it might be true. I'm not saying it's not true. I just have not heard that.
I could have the wrong president. So what? It's the
Well, that would be the
president.
only one. He was the only one that was close to within a couple of years of leaving the White House is when the dementia diagnosis was given to the American people. So he's the only one that since the nuclear age began that would even apply to.
Susan, I have never witnessed a person who talks so highly of himself fail in every important negotiation ever. To say that he is a good negotiator after all of the absolute nothing he has done. Thank you, Amber. I appreciate you popping in to say hi. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Is hilarious. That like literally that man could not negotiate a walk down the street. He's that bad. Carney is a puppet. Okay. Like, tell yourself whatever you want, I guess, to make yourself not realize how horrible the side you're supporting is right now. But
all right, I gotta go. I'm
all right.
sorry.
You're fine. I'm sorry you have to do what you have to do. I hope it goes well.
Man. Yeah, wish me luck, everybody. I'll catch you later.
Good,
right.
good luck. Good
Bye.
luck.
I wanted to mention this quick. Was it Canada? I can't remember the name, but just so you know, I only bring up people I know. I've had too many experiences in the beginning of doing lives where some really crappy people have come up and almost gotten my live taken down. So if you stick around, I'd be happy to bring you up in the future, but I don't bring up people I don't know to start. Are you Canadian in Canada? What? I appreciate that. I'm going to the next Republican convention to hook up with Mike Johnson, Rubio, Hawley. Get secrets. Do it, Aaron. Who am I? What do you mean, who am I? Did you not read the name when you came in? Am I Canadian? No, I'm not. But I have a lot of Canadians in the community, and we have had many, many conversations about Canada over the years. What's up, Cody? I have no problem with you being concerned about your country, but saying things that just straight up aren't true, especially about Trump, is hilarious. I look like John Travolta. I guess that I haven't decided whether that's a thank you or not. I guess if you say I look like a young John Travolta, sure, I'd say good. I may not be the right person. I don't know, Aaron. I never know who's right for them. A trade war over essentially nothing besides ego. I mean, we don't know everything that was offered, but why is Trump so rich? Gosh.
Because he grifts from people like you. There's a good starting point.
He literally stole from a charity he created. That's how he got rich. He
A charity for kids with cancer.
He straight up started and then bankrupt how many casinos? And
3.
And he doesn't lose money in those cases. I know you think he does, but he doesn't, because that's the way the system works.
Well, I'll tell you who did lose money are the contractors who built those casinos.
Mhm.
They got paid pennies on the dollar.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Jelly. Looks like you got a unstable
Hi.
connection.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit better. I had to get really close to the house.
Ah.
So, the art of the deal. I guess what he did with Canada was they came to an agreement, and then just before they were going to sign on that agreement, he changed the terms to basically benefit himself. And it's actually a tactic that he stated outright in his book, The Art of the Deal, where he would get everything good to go and then switch the terms right before signing.
Sounds about right. Trump is rich, but he started out rich. He was handed how many hundreds of millions of dollars? Like he inherited hundreds of millions of dollars from his dad. Like, he didn't earn it all.
Well, plus his dad bailed out his casinos too.
Yep.
It wasn't enough to prevent the bankruptcy, but it allowed them to stay open a little bit longer.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Not only was he handed, oh, my connection. Not only was he handed millions of dollars, but he had to get millions of dollars in bailouts repeatedly.
Yep. Look, again, if you can like, I will disagree with you wholeheartedly. You can like capitalism though. That is your right. But don't pretend this guy is a good businessman or just good in general. He's not. He's not. You want to have a conversation about issues that are out there, then let's talk about issues, but don't sit here and act like this guy is anything but what he has literally always been since he first stepped onto the world stage.
You know, this country specifically aimed toward a social capitalism whereby there was incentive, people could build their businesses, the American dream was intact, and part of everybody's salary went to take care of the least amongst us. You would not fall through the cracks. You would get Social Security. There would be food stamps. That turned into the SNAP program. There were subsidies for industry that were not able to turn a profit. There was all of these institutions that are classically socialistic institutions embedded in our republic that was working. And one by one, the Republicans, and only the Republicans, have dismantled them.
Mhm.
When it comes to Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, and the fear that your Social Security will be robbed from you or that your medical will be taken away from you. At the same time that Tylenol and mRNA vaccines were vilified, and the confidence for parents with respect to children and the possibility that it was causing, it wasn't, autism. It's just spinning this mythology so irresponsibly. It's a crime, the height of which transcends every crime in the country, in my
Did
opinion.
you just say ivermectin is safer than Tylenol? Oh my gosh.
And aeronautical, the irony involved here, especially with this Congress, is that their cuts to the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, those cuts, 80% of the subsidies went to red states, 80%. And the Medicaid cuts that are coming 2 weeks after the midterm elections, well, 30% of the entire population of red states are on Medicaid. So this is, not only are they passing legislation to cut the social safety net, it's almost as if it's aimed at the very people who put them in office. Now, that's something you don't see every day.
That's totally correct. It's aimed at Texas to put the wall up between the beautiful Bend in Big Bend National Park. If you've seen where that wall is going, it's grotesque. All of the Republicans in southern Texas are up in arms. All of them. They're incensed because one thing about the Republican Party is they like their national parks. So he's just systematically turning the country against him, I hope. And somehow Elon Musk is running to Pennsylvania with $120 million. What's that about?
It'll probably
curious
help the
to see.
Democrats. Take a look at the money Elon spent before on elections. It's backfired on him every time.
What is Elon building? Does anyone know?
What do you mean?
He's getting multi-billion-dollar contracts to
Well,
build a fleet of Starship. Those Starships are enormous. He's building them like an assembly line coming out of the Starship factory, where there will be, by the end of the year, 50 different gigantic Starships in an assembly line. And when they come out, we're not going to Mars. He actually did an interview in the last couple of days where he essentially said Mars is impossible, because Mars is impossible. It's the physics to get to Mars is a complete impossibility. So we have these gigantic rockets that are going to be rolling off an assembly line. Also, he can put this new version of Starlink around orbit. And what's going to happen when those start to launch, we're going to have over 1 million satellites that are much, much, much bigger than what we have now. And the Vera Rubin telescope, all the telescopes in Chile are going to be looking up at the night sky and see these things soar overhead. They're not going to be able to, it's going to destroy the viewing. And all it will take is one major collision, and we will have something known as the Kessler syndrome. And that will be that.
Going back to building the wall along Big Bend, I'm curious to see what'll happen to property values over there and what people's reactions to that are because people like their property value.
Well, it will certainly impale that. It depends on where the wall is being built. He lies all the time. He claims that he just moved the wall away from the national park so that it will skirt it, but it also is so ugly. And there's no reason for it. There's no way to cross. There's no way to cross. There's no way to cross. And it's some of the most beautiful topography. There's a documentary that's out, a really emotional documentary. These 6 kids canoed the entire Rio Grande River and showed me the Rio Grande that I'd never seen before. And it is spectacular. And the leader of that group was a kid who was brought to America when he was 4 by his parents, who snuck across the Rio Grande in the middle of the night. And as he's taking these people to the curve on the river where he was crossing as a 4-year-old, he breaks down in tears. And it's so moving. And they've tried to vilify these substantial, hardworking, willing, participating people that, in my opinion, we open the doors and say, come on, let's give you a job. Let's make you part of a country that you can be proud of and that you can work to get somewhere in this country, because they work so hard. They're nothing that they're being described to us. Nothing.
Canada Goose, it's okay. I appreciate you guys
I'm like
being
on
here.
a soapbox. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I appreciate you being here. I never expect anyone to a gift. Obviously appreciate it no matter what, but definitely being here, watching my content, that stuff means more to me than anything.
And I think we spoke about it. I late last night. I published a video because I was so confused. We talked about it yesterday. I couldn't figure out the steam catapult. For 3 years, I've been trying to figure it out. And yesterday, it all made sense. It all made such horrifying sense. If everybody's up to speed, I don't want to repeat it, but it's.
You mean that they're talking about?
They're not talking. The decision's been made. They just haven't told us. So 5 years ago, a true hero that was working as a cook at Pearl Harbor was named the name of the new aircraft carrier being built. It's half built right now. His name is Doris Miller. Doris Miller was a cook because when you're black in 1945 Pearl Harbor, you're not allowed to do anything else but work in the mess hall. When the bomb started falling, he scrambled and saw one of those giant gunner platforms. He had never been allowed to touch one. Nobody was around. He jumped on it. He got it working. He shot down between 4 and 6 Japanese planes, having never shot a gun before, those gigantic cannons. He then stuck around for hours to get all the wounded soldiers back and to pull people out of the water and save the captain of a ship that was sinking. And everybody else was just running for cover. He died in 1945 when the boat he was on was torpedoed, and he was given the first black man to be given the Navy Cross.
Yep.
And there was a big ceremony 4 years ago involving his family. And here's the key: when you create an aircraft carrier, it's not just the name on the back. Everything on the aircraft carrier has the name of the carrier, whether it's the utensils, the napkins, the brass plates that get screwed into the pipes, the floors. Your name is everywhere. The name of the carrier is everywhere. And that date was coming up really fast to begin to start to actually make the Doris Miller insignias everywhere. So what does Trump do? He says this has to be steam. That means 6 more years, billions of dollars. And so the date that was coming up where the Doris Miller tooling was going to begin is now no longer urgent. And the Navy yesterday has said they are looking seriously into naming it the Donald J. Trump.
Yep.
So there's been this huge thing that's been concocted to get his name on the aircraft carrier. It's all made up.
And there's a lot of superstition, especially in the Navy,
You don't
about
change the name of a boat.
about renaming any vessel. And there was something else and I forgot it.
The Harvey Milk, the Enola Gay.
Yeah, all of those. Yeah. But no, it was still something about something I just
I wanted
said,
to
but
call
yeah.
the Enola Gay the Enola Binary.
Well, the Enola Gay was named after Commander Tibbets's mother.
His
That's
mom.
yeah, that was named after his mother. And as for the steam catapults, it'll be interesting to see how the Navy, which of course has no desire to do this, to retrofit all of our aircraft carriers with 1945 technology.
God, they don't exist.
It'll
the
be
tooling's gone.
It'll be interesting to see how they slow walk it for 2.5 years till Trump is out of here.
That's what I think.
That's exactly what they're going to do. They have no intention of listening to him.
The
It's
tooling
gotten to the
lit-
point where people just humor him and he rants and raves and nothing really happens.
I need you to build a Lockheed Electra. I need 500 of them. Can you have them to me by Thursday?
It's the same with his new battleship class. Now, the Navy doesn't want battleships for a very good reason. They're outdated. That's why we haven't built them in 70 years. And he wants an entire new class of battleships that, per copy, get this, per copy, are twice as expensive as an aircraft carrier.
I think this group should go to Parker Brothers. We should order about 40 games of Who Sank My Battleship and send it to the White House.
I remember the other thing I was going to say now. Isn't it not common practice to name anything after anybody who's still alive?
Correct. And in fact, he 3 years ago when this was announced, he supported it completely. He was proud to be the man announcing that it was going to be a black hero. And then at the end of his sentence, he said, of course, nobody's ever mentioned my name on the back of the aircraft carrier. They're not talking about me. I guess maybe it's because I'm alive. He's so jealous. He's so needy. It's so grotesque. Can you imagine petitioning for your own name on something?
Well, I mean, isn't that everything right now, though? Like,
Kennedy Center,
everything. Yes.
the Trump reflecting pool, the Gulf of Trump, the Gilded Horseman, the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, the 4 horsemen outside of that he just painted gold.
Arel, how do you think bankrupting a majority of the families in this country is looking out for the U.S.? How do you think making everything cost more money because he doesn't have the capability of actually negotiating is helping our country?
He doesn't want to help the country. He's on a mandate, in my opinion. I think when you have a malignant narcissist who has this view of himself and now is a felon, and the country has shattered his view of himself in the eyes of a lot of people, he feels that he will take out the country that brought him down. That's what's happening. Every choice he makes is a choice that does whatever is possible to cripple the country. Every single choice.
I am willing to give him what he wants. I would like to memorialize him before he is gone. I would like a DJT Memorial Museum where they have every single project that he has attempted and document every single trade deal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I want pictures of before and after and plaques explaining the process that we went through, how much money it cost. et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I want him to be alive to see it.
Well, that's the Republicans, unless something happens in November, I think. I have something else to say that everyone thinks I'm nuts. We're not going back to the moon. Like, who's going to say it first? There is no going back to the moon. There's no reason to go back to the moon.
Probably not.
We just watched the Perseid meteor shower. It burns up in the atmosphere. It slams into the moon. It's hailstones that are traveling at 5 times at 100,000 miles an hour. Like, no one is addressing the realities. Nobody.
Canada is a UK vassal state.
Well, that's news to the Canadians. Why don't you tell them that?
Ugh. Did we ever go to the moon? Yes,
Yes, we definitely did.
multiple times, in fact.
We went 6 times. We tried 7. Apollo 13. This is a great story. Apollo 13 had the problem, and we were able to bring it back. And the only reason we got it back was because there was a woman at NASA who was worried about the LEM landers on the moon. So she was developing a backup program that could be used if there was a problem. And lo and behold, when the explosion happened, it became crucial for all crew members to get into the LEM and to stay there because the capsule couldn't take all 3 of them. It didn't have enough oxygen. So they all climbed into the freezing LEM. They swung around the moon on a free return. And this woman's 8 months pregnant, and she's going into labor, and she goes to the hospital with all of her stuff. And in bed, she's making all the calculations and beaming them to Apollo 13 to get them back. It's the reason they made it back was because of her backup system. And as she's doing this, she gets into labor and gives birth to her child, who turns out to be Jack Black.
That is a fantastic story. But let me clarify. Did you say that a woman was worried about the well-being of other people and started to work to get them to safety?
I would say that women are
A
the
woman did
only
that?
ones who care about other people. The Nancy Grace telescope that is launching on August 30th will be a miracle. It will be 100 times what Hubble is. And she was the only one who was the first scientific officer at NASA who said, this telescope is the future. And she pulled money from budgets, and she made that telescope happen single-handedly. And so Vera Rubin just went into business up in Chile, and it, in its first 10 hours, discovered 10 million new galaxies, 12,000 new asteroids in one night of viewing. And for the first time in history, both telescopes are named after women.
Will the tariffs affect jobs in the US? I mean, anytime you start increasing costs, bigger businesses will try and reduce costs, other costs. So yeah, it could definitely affect jobs. It could affect small businesses. It will affect small businesses. It'll affect farms. It'll affect everybody. I mean, again, we import quite a lot from Canada.
The one thing, just jumping fences with the Vera Rubin and the Nancy Roman Grace telescope, the amount of data coming in is so overwhelming that without AI, there'd be no way to operate the telescope. And they're getting literally 800,000 data points a night that have to be looked over, where the telescope says, here are 800,000 things that I don't recognize, that are new, that are moving, that are exploding. It's a supernova. It's 2 neutron stars that are colliding. And so AI is delivering to a huge group of people that they just hired who did not have jobs before, so that AI is handing them what they need to look at that are the anomalies or the interesting discoveries, and it would not be possible. It's one area that AI is actually creating a lot of jobs at the moment.
Possibly 87,000 jobs here potentially affected. Oh, I mean, a trade war affects both sides. There's no doubt that jobs are going to be affected in both countries because of this. No doubt whatsoever.
Have you seen the robots that were in the Chinese Olympics?
I did.
That's no joke. That's 1 year. If you saw them last year, they could barely stand up. And if you're interested at all, the robot's called the Unitree. It's the R1 or the R2, and it was $175,000 a couple years ago. It's $4,900 now, and it will have next year the capability of being a caregiver to an aging parent.
That's crazy.
And one is being trained to hit the quint as an ice skater before Ilya Malanin does. So Ilya is in a race with a Unitree robot to get the quint, which has never been done.
Actually, Canada provides a lot of things that America doesn't provide, and at least enough of for itself. Canadian wood is better than American wood. Canada provides most of the aluminum that we use. Potash.
And now Alaskan oil. Again.
Yeah.
You know, with the destruction of some of our, you know, national parks, the forests and whatnot, that they've given permission to tear them down. The wood here in the United States isn't as old. So it actually doesn't hold up as well when you're using it for construction, whether it's furniture or housing or whatnot. And that's one of the reasons why we buy Canadian wood. But yeah.
Yeah, the cold actually makes the wood harder.
I honorably think we just have to accept the fact that everything he is doing is to destroy the country. Everything. And until he's gone, every choice he makes is going to have to hit the courts, and some number get through and some number don't. But every act he makes is an act to destroy the country, support the people that are giving him billions of dollars and Qatar 747s that don't have any protection. And those are the people that he supports, and they support him because they're giving him those people the tax breaks. And until that is broken, you just would hope that people like Obama had their hands on some mechanisms that could help. And the only mechanism is to march into the Supreme Court and say, hey, can we have a seminar and just chat for a minute?
Well, yeah, Canada Goose, because of the cold, trees just grow slower. So a tree that is matured into the size that they would cut down takes longer.
I'm probably jumping topics, but I'm going back to the moon. One of the biggest problems of the moon, when you talk to astrophysicists who really know, is that for 4.5 billion years, the moon has been accepting nonstop radiation with no atmosphere to stop it. So the moon ground is radiating deadly radioactivity because it has been absorbing it for 4.5 billion years. So they have to figure out a way to block the radioactivity that's slamming from above, that's being released from below. The meteorites that are traveling at over 100,000 miles an hour, sometimes they're made out of metal. Yeah, sign me up.
Get money out of politics and get rid of the Electoral College. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Wouldn't that
Well,
be nice?
unfortunately, April, to get rid of the Electoral College, we'd have to change the Constitution. God, I wish we could. And apparently, because of Citizens United, to get money out of politics, we'd also have to change the Constitution. That's unfortunately a tall order for us in today's political climate.
Don't you feel that as long as Citizens United is in place, we're doomed?
Doomed is painting with too wide a brush, but you're not going to get money out of politics unless you get rid of Citizens United, and you're not going to get rid of Citizens United with this Supreme Court. It's just not going to happen.
Is Mitch McConnell alive?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Is he
Is he
functional?
cognizant? I don't know, but is he alive? Yes.
Electoral college is the worst way. There is literally nothing worse for a system that helps the people choose their leaders than the electoral college. Literally, this system has made it where 7 states decide are the only thing that people care about in this country. They don't care about
Look,
any other state.
We all know why the what the political reasons for the electoral college were in 1789. But in 1789, we were a nation of 3 million farmers. The nation has changed a lot since then, and the electoral college, whatever the benefits of it in 1789 to get people to sign up on the Constitution, to get the small states to go along, has long since changed. We're now a nation of 350 million people.
We're also a nation of uneducated people. So you talk to the man in the street, and what comes out of his mouth is so confused and full of complete bullshit.
We have a
The
problem.
Daily Show does those, those street meets, and just what comes out of their mouths is just you really realize we're living. It's Homo sapien and Homo republicus.
We have a problem in Canada. Ontario and Quebec run the country. I mean, they are the biggest cities there, so the most people are there, right? That's pretty normal in pretty much every country, everywhere, as far as I know.
If you take a highlighter and draw a line on the Canadian side of the border, that's where most of the population is, just like that yellow highlighter. They hug the border.
Just like you want to complain about the Electoral College. The Electoral College is a completely different system. The problems with the Electoral College are they basically make it impossible to have more than 2 parties. We'll never have more than 2 parties. We'll never have different parties as long as we have the Electoral College in existence. And again, it makes your system is better than Canada. No, it's not. It's literally the worst system on the entire planet. There is no worse system than the Electoral College.
The comparisons of the Electoral College has nothing to do with the differences between the American and the Canadian system. The Canadian system is a parliamentary system. Ours isn't. It's apples and oranges.
What if just the people on this live right now just
At this point with the Electoral College, we have less people willing to vote.
Yep.
What if we just made the decision that Mark Kelly was our president, Peter Buttigieg is our vice president, and call it a day? Like, we're done.
Us having an elected Senate and appointed Senate, that's new, technically. We used to have an appointed Senate. It wasn't until, I don't know when that amendment was passed. That has nothing to do with the Electoral College.
Yes, until the 1920, the teens, senators were chosen by the state legislators. They were not voted. We had no direct election of senators till relatively recently.
Elected is better. I agree, elected is better, but our system actively disenfranchises people from getting out to vote in the first place. I would rather have a system that had one group of people appointed and the rest elected if it got more people to get out and vote. We have corruption. We have elected senators and there's still corruption. That's nothing. Like, literally, there's nothing. There's no correlation.
That's because there's no accountability either, and you have masses of people voting who are so ill-informed that you can go and ask them questions, and the responses are idiotic. And I know
Yeah.
this sounds ridiculous, but until you have a way of forcing politicians to tell the truth, or they are charged with perjury, there's no way we will ever go back to a situation where you can MAGA people believe whatever Donald has to say. And when you hear those people regurgitate it, you really realize how limited they are.
Aaron, I hear the point you're making, but whether we have a system that has an electoral college in it or whether we have direct election of the president doesn't help us if we still have an ignorant electorate.
And how do you get out of an?
How? 50 years of de-emphasizing the teaching of history and civics in America's educational system at both the secondary and collegiate level is now paying the inevitable dividend of it with the dumbing down of the American people.
Oh, hang on. I just want to look up the 10 Commandments in my nephew's elementary school. Okay, got it.
And, honestly, what do we need to do? We probably need to get to a point where being a citizen requires voting. In the end, I've said this before, same thing goes with term limits. I've always been against the idea of term limits because I've always said voting are term limits. Like us voting are term limits. If we vote in the primaries, we can term limit people. If they don't do their job, you primary them, and they've been term limited. But
that world doesn't exist anymore.
Well,
really,
it never truly existed, but I've realized more and more that it doesn't matter. It does not matter whether or not, it doesn't matter how much we talk. It doesn't pull people out of this world that they live in where they feel like they can live and not have to pay attention to politics. So I think we need to force it to an extent. How that actually looks.
Be a test?
The way there's two ways to go about it. One would be to mimic the Australian example where you get fined if you don't vote. That would run into First Amendment problems, I think. But there's another way to go about it. Instead of the stick, offer a carrot. And you could literally pay people through a tax incentive to vote. You could give them a tax incentive the way the ACA was. So there, and that would definitely be constitutional since Congress has complete power over setting taxes. So, there's two different ways to do it, but the overall point is there should be some sort of compulsion involved in voting, whether it be through the carrot or the stick. The carrot being the tax credit, the stick being the Australian model where you get fined if you don't vote.
Claudia,
what about a third model where you get educated so that you actually know what you're voting for and that somehow the information that comes your way is authentic and you can't look at Trump in any other way but a grifting liar? How about that?
Trump can't even say the word Yosemite. And you think Trump is smart and knows what he's doing? I'm sorry. That is no.
I saw a woman interviewed today.
Can't say the word Yosemite. Well, how? Not only that, Mike, this guy can't pronounce any word. And secondly, he's bizarre. He talks about Revolutionary War airports. When he went to visit Pearl Harbor, he had no idea that was how we started World War II for the United States. That was the event that precipitated American action in World War II. He didn't even know that. And this guy is president of the United States. Your average third grader knows that, but he didn't know that.
It's what you said earlier. It's true. He wants to build a ballroom. He wants to build an arch. He wants to complete this fiasco on the reflecting pool. He has this idea that he's a builder. He's not. and he just wants to go hang out and play golf with the girl he finds attractive. That's all he wants to do. And the Republican Party is despicable and disgusting for not getting together behind closed doors and saying, this is not the country we are supporting, period. Instead, they're just happy to go along with it because when this is all over, they're going to be vying for a better job. And they all have presidential aspirations, all of them. I'm sorry, I suddenly sound so opinionated today.
It's all good. I mean, we already know. Look at everyone that's like going to different places trying to feel out whether they should run for president. It's wild right now. Like the fact that Hegseth is considering a run for president is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
It's fucking hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. I love it. You go, Pete. Now, has anybody explained to the Secretary of War or whatever he wants to call himself this week that if you're running for president, you've got to stay sober at least 8 or 9 hours a day? I did. Somebody ought to explain that to him.
And it wouldn't be terrible.
He'll drop out real fast when he finds that out.
It wouldn't be awful to get. Why does he have to get sober? Like what standards are left? He might want to try to get rid of some tattoos as well, but
What do
I
you
just think it's hilarious that we have him trying, thinking about running when one of the very first things that he did was disclose military secrets to a reporter.
has anyone seen
not to mention the $92 billion he spent on lobster in 1 month, October of 2025. Like these guys got their hands on money and they just don't have any sense of fiscal responsibility in any. Oh yeah, we can just. I think they're up to $16,450,000 for the reflecting pool. It should have just been left alone.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can't speak for everyone. I'm an American. That's what I care about. I care about, and I'm a humanist. I care about humans, and I care about America, and I care about all people being safe and having rights. That's what I care about. Past that, I don't give a rat's ass what label you decide you want to put on me. It doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything.
I would just like to suggest we've got to figure out a way to change our entire approach here, because we can go on and complain all the way through November and it's not going to change anything. And it feels to me like we have a very small window to affect change. And I have another email off this morning to Annie Andrews to see what kind of help she might need and a willingness to go work on our campaign if I have to lick envelopes. I don't care. She's such a bright spot. And I stumbled on her the night she won the Democratic nominee, and she could not, in my view, have stated more clearly what it was to be an American and what it meant to be a senator in that state. And she's stunning. And if we get her and if we get Vindman
got beat in the primary.
When did that happen? Yesterday? Friday? No, Tuesday.
Last week, yeah. He got beat by Nixon for the Democratic nomination. At any rate, Amy Andrews is a very, very attractive candidate, sharp as a tack.
God, she's good.
But just so people don't think we're talking inside baseball because you haven't mentioned it, aeronautical, Amy Andrews is the Democratic nominee in the state of South Carolina.
Can I just jump in? She's Dr. Annie Andrews. Yes, South Carolina, pediatrician, 23 years old, won the Democratic nomination with a speech that set the stadium on fire, and certainly lit a fire under me. And then lo and behold, Lindsey Graham passed, and she's just spectacular. And I mean, in my view, we should all be driving to South Carolina. And
I mean, there are a lot of amazing people running for Congress and the Senate. There were a lot more that were running and didn't win their primaries, that because only 15 to 25% of people came out and voted. This is this is why we are still dealing with it. I mean, obviously, if we can get even some people through, that's great. That's that every step is a step in the right direction. But in the end, if we want stuff fixed, people have to get out and vote. They have to be involved, because the primaries are where you decide what you want the country to look like. That's it.
So, you know, we had a failed attempt with Alan Bergman trying to get, I felt we had a really strong piece that could have really caught fire, but because of another anthem, I think we got, you know, sort of, and maybe even because of a certain person verbally letting everyone know that we weren't. What's available to us instead of just having this conversation on the way into September, like to November? What's the thing that's doable that could possibly be alerting and different and
I mean, in the end, there's nothing that we can do other than keep having conversations, because in the end, we can't force people to listen. We can't force people to pay attention. And most people won't start paying attention until they start feeling it themselves. And that's what you're seeing that's somewhat different, is now they're at a point where they're starting to feel it. They aren't feeling it before. They're definitely going to feel it once 50% tariffs start working their way through the country. That is what will wake them up. And that was what will cause more conversations to happen. And, you know, that's unfortunately the only thing that will fix it. If you look throughout history, that is the only thing that have fixed it. I mean, just take World War II. Americans didn't care about World War II until we got attacked. Nothing before that.
do you realize that we put the German soldiers before we knew who was who killed the Allies and who was helping us into concentration camps that had no water, no food, outdoors in the open, no tents, as we tried to figure out what to do with them, and 20% of them died because of exposure and dysentery. It was just awful.
Mm-hmm.
I have these, I come up with these really lame ideas that I guess only you know about, but so you get to chuckle. But it feels to me like we should be targeting 10 brilliant Democrats, of whom Annie Andrews would be one of them, and trying to formulate a plan whereby at a certain date, Monday morning at 8 a.m., every Monday morning, they're on the steps of the Supreme Court talking to the American people, and we know we can tune in. I know that sounds silly, but that's not happening. And
unless we are getting every single media outlet and every single person on every single social media outlet to all talking about it, it's not going to reach some of these people. It's just not. That's the problem. The problem is not the people. The problem really is not the people that are on social media right now. Obviously, there are people on social media that, maybe are just living in a different algorithm, but sometimes that algorithm can work its way through. The problem is the people that are just not a part of it. And the amount of people that I know that don't know what the hell's going on in the world because they don't use social media or watch the news in any way, shape, or form is insane.
So then I ask, who are the two people that show up that the country is actually eager to hear from? Who are the people that never show up, but that would actually be there, that people would say, oh my God, he's really coming? She's really coming. I want to see who is the...
Nobody.
What group?
There's nobody.
I think we're too spread out about that right now. Somebody in the comments mentioned wages. So that is one of the very, very, very long list of things that we are hoping to fix here in the country.
Can you talk about what's going on? There were trade negotiations between the United States and Canada, and they fell apart. So Trump has put a 50% tariff on Canada, and Canada is putting a 50% tariff on the United States. So got a trade war going on.
And that was simultaneous with trade war threats to the rest of the world about commerce with Iran. So
What
it's
if
literally hitting us from every direction right now. But
what if
Canada's the most shocking.
what if a gigantic UFO appeared from behind Jupiter, headed our way, cleverly put together by a coalition of secret, and the world has to rally because we're going to be destroyed? Okay, never mind. It's just a thought.
I'd just be like, hey, I'm with you. Beam me up.
Yeah.
I do really think, from everything I know, that we are going to wake up one morning and it will be 325 degrees in Arizona. And that will be the moment that everyone's going to realize it's too late and we've wasted too much time. And that will bring us together, I think, but it will be too late. But it will bring us together because we'll have no other choice.
That is an absolute possibility.
Some astrophysicists think that Venus suffered a major volcanic global event, and within 1 week it went from a habitable planet to what it is today, which is 700 degrees everywhere and can melt lead. And when the Russians landed their probes, they literally operated for 40 minutes and then they pooled into liquid metal that are sitting there still to this very day, liquid metal in these little pools.
Yes, Ed. Unfortunately, again, the United States has a history of the worst of times is what brings together. I mean, whether it's wars, the Great Depression, just
The
all
moon landing for 5 minutes.
for 5 minutes. But that's fear, like just fear. I mean, it's the problem with the kind of, especially capitalist society that we have pushed so hard for here, is it has caused this individualistic mentality to really perpetuate its way through everyone's brains, to the point that, you know, you talk to people and that's why we lack empathy as a country, especially as a whole, because we don't have the capability of seeing someone else suffering and feel it ourselves to the point where we actually care. And that is causing, you know, a lot of the problems that we're experiencing.
And to be fair, the Civil War never ended. The resentment in this country of I think that Larry Elder, who was running for governor or senator, governor of the state of California, who's black, said it best. He said, yes, we should pay reparations because the plantation owners lost property. So we should be paying the plantation owners reparations for the property they lost. And I think the Civil War is going on, and we got a president who said, you know what? This country's been stolen from you, and your white face is American, and these black and brown faces aren't. And finally, a president said to them what they've been furious about for hundreds of years, and that's it. He told them what they wanted to hear, and have been dying to be able to be open about in public.
Yeah, he gave them permission to just.
I think that's exactly right. He said, guys, you go and I will support you. And suddenly they had their guy in the White House. And I'm sorry to keep interrupting. And if you're a felon and feel like the system has dealt you badly, you align with him because the system dealt him badly and he's a felon. So thieves are together. It's so grotesque.
So two things. One, Silver, that is unregulated capitalism in a nutshell. That is our problem, is we're living in unregulated capitalism. And when you say the damage is not repairable, it's not repairable anytime soon. Sure. Totally agree with you. But of course it's repairable. You know, Germany went from, you know, enemy number one to being a part of society. So of course it's repairable. It just won't happen anytime soon.
And it may not happen this go round.
Oh,
The
it
people,
wouldn't surprise me if it takes decades for the repair to happen.
or
Again,
never happen.
I mean, oh, sure, it all depends on what choices we make. I'll never return to the U.S. Okay, okay.
Right now, one of my biggest motivations is I'm fighting for my grandchildren. Fighting for my grandchildren. I don't want them to have to live through what we're living through right now. I don't want any children or, well, even young
Is,
adults to have to deal with.
And it
is
will.
part of that
what we-
educating them?
Yes, it absolutely is. And I am very grateful that my daughter and son in law are very open with their children. Even my grandson's 7. And he still knows a bit about what's going on out there. They're a very tiny blue dot in a very red area. So, yeah,
And again, I'm not telling, I want to make sure I'm clear. I am not telling Canadians that they ever should trust the United States or they should come here, that they should let bygones be bygones. Not saying any of that. I'm just saying, how many people do you think thought that the relationship that Germany would have with the world would be what it is now? This is I have an extreme problem. I don't have a problem with people saying that you don't trust this country right now. I have a problem with these universal statements of, like, there's a reason I say I try avoid saying never, because who knows what could change? Who knows what could change in a decade or 2 decades? Who knows what choices could be made by anybody to change the way we interact with each other? Do I see it happening anytime soon? No, but there's no point in saying never, because that's like saying we know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't. We could wake up tomorrow and literally the entire world could look different for whatever reason, and everything we said right now means absolutely nothing.
It's totally possible. Germany had concentration camps. They were systematically killing populations, and the world could not ignore it. It was at a scale that, and this is insidious because it doesn't have the same global, and the United States didn't jump into that war either. They dragged their feet for a very long time. We dragged our feet for a very long time.
Well, the war started on September 1st, 1939, and we didn't come in until December 7th, 1941.
Pearl Harbor.
Yes, Pearl Harbor.
Right, my little video is
and
Pearl Harbor before flying.
Even at that point, we didn't declare war on Germany. They declared war on us.
Yep.
We declared war on Japan, and then Germany declared war on us. So even after Pearl Harbor, we were not at war with Germany until 3 days later when Germany declared war on us.
And Russia.
But getting back to the main point here, our relationships have been severely damaged throughout Europe, with the EU, with NATO, with Canada and Mexico, obviously, and in the Indo-Pacific with Japan, Taiwan, South Korea. You know, those have all been severely damaged. But I agree with Mike. You can't say forever. Unfortunately,
obviously, you can never say forever or just give up. But it just didn't Annie Andrews didn't she admit that she knew nothing about Taiwan and didn't know where it was and didn't understand the foreign policy and the protection of China and China going after Taiwan, and they're building that bridge now, which is only being built, this enormous and beautiful bridge to basically win Taiwan through economics, and she had to say, I don't know anything about it.
Are you
Did you
thinking
see that?
Are you talking about Graham's sister?
Yeah,
You said Annie Andrews.
sorry, and competing against Andy Andrews. No, Annie Andrews, at least in my experience, has not taken one false step. She
Look, the point is, and again, you guys can say anything that you want, L'Oreal. When we say never say never, we're not telling you what you can and can't do, obviously. I'm just saying we just
Not in my lifetime.
but
That's how I
but we
feel,
can't we
honestly.
can't even say that. We don't
can.
know. No, we can't. We can't. Literally anything could happen. To say that we know every possibility of what the future could hold that could change the direction that everything goes, because we know one situation that affects us greatly can change our entire view of everything that happens. It can change our perspective. It can change anything. So that's why I say, you know, we've got problems. This country, we've got problems, and we need to fix them, and we need to focus on how we fix them. What potential direction the future could go, that literally changes. You can just look at this in the last year and a half. How many times has the direction that we were going, you know, gone like this to some extent because something different happened?
So I'll just say, I don't see any actionable way to make. There's nothing wrong with discussing the topics. I don't see any actionable movement in this country other than the Republicans gerrymandering every state and hoping that it gets so bad that November comes and MAGA stays home, or they vote Democrat and that the Democrats pour out in force. But it feels impotent that there isn't more we can do.
Sure. 100%. 100%.
I think that either way it goes, the results in November are going to be shocking to a lot of people. Most
In which
people,
way?
regardless of which way it goes. Whether we take the House or not, whether we manage to flip the Senate, it's going to be shocking. You know, we've got a lot of momentum over here, and so, you know, we have a lot of hope. We have a lot to look forward to. But I would say either way, because there are going to be those people that are like, no way, how did that happen?
Why do you think that that Americans that are against this administration destroying our country are anti-American? I don't get that mentality. Like, again, you don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with every word I say, but to say I'm anti-American because I'm standing here going, I disagree profusely with what this administration is doing on every front, and somehow that makes me anti-American, you obviously don't understand history if you think that, because we literally seceded from another country, from an empire, because we didn't like what the other country was doing, and somehow it's wrong when we're doing it now.
What I was saying before and wasn't able to get my complete thought in. Look, we have damaged our relationships in bilateral and in multilateral situations, but that's not forever, folks. It really isn't forever, but it will be a long road for the next couple of presidencies to repair our damages with our NATO allies, with the EU, and with our Indo-Pacific allies. It's going to take work, and it won't be done in one administration. Will it last 40 years? No, I don't think so. But
You're assuming we get the right administration.
Jesus.
Keep going, Scott.
That's okay, Mike. I finished.
Did I just interrupt you? My apologies. It wasn't intentional.
That's okay.
Is that what just happened? My apologies. Seriously.
No. It's okay, and especially for me. I've done it a million times, so it's no biggie, my friend. No biggie at all.
I think so. Again, and this is why I say it. There's a lot of it depends going on, right? It depends how we as Americans respond. It depends who we put in office. It depends what we're able to get past and what protections we're able to put in. If we're not able to put protections in for our relations with our trading partners, then yeah, why would any trading partner trust us? why, you know, this is why there's so much more to it than just saying it will or won't happen and in what time frame. In the end, I don't think it'll happen in one, you know, with one new administration, because yeah, we've got to prove ourselves. We've got to prove that we, the American people, are going to be involved enough and care enough to actually fix things, as opposed to just keep doing what we've been basically doing, which is going back and forth, back and forth. Those partners didn't want to help us anyway. Help us with what? Mark? Like, help us with what? An illegal war? I wouldn't have helped us either. That's an idiotic statement.
There does seem to be some movement in the Supreme Court, as glacial as it is, other than Clarence Thomas. There really does seem to be Roberts and Amy learning about things they didn't understand, maybe.
Boy, that it's very rare. Let's put it to you that way. And if you're talking about the 14th Amendment case, well, they had no choice. The 14th Amendment is crystal clear.
I'm
The
suggesting it's good
Supreme Court has not exactly been stellar in their performance.
No, but they haven't all been one thing either, which I was
That's
concerned
true.
about. And Amy in particular has surprised me several times. And
Yeah.
my whole theory is that she goes to work every day with these breathtaking women that she is actually learning something from. And I'm still mad at Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Election making Trump the bad. Trump has always been the bad man. Like, literally, you aren't a partner. Thanks for proving my point. Who am I supposed to be a partner with? Who's I don't think you understand what partner means.
I think you just got proposed to, actually.
Maybe.
You
I'll have
just
to talk to
you
my
missed-
wife about that one.
You missed the proposal. There it was.
Under Trump, there is no actual signature. He's pretending to write and nothing's actually getting on the paper.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey,
Hey, happy Monday.
Is
You
it
know,
really
there-
just Monday?
Yeah, well, I've censored myself by saying what I wanted to say, but anyways, I'm kind of spicy this morning. You know, the thing is that what we're talking about is it is so multifaceted, right? So the decisions that are being made, the choices that are being made are going to cause a different trajectory for different things. But we also have to also look at the issues in which we are dealing with and how to approach those in a way that is going to benefit the most amount of people or a specific marginalized people in this country. And we are dealing with an administration that is pushing and pulling to figure out what loopholes and guardrails they can punch to get their particular corruption to go through. And you know, so to me it's like, this is why some of this really overwhelms me, is because, and I know that sounds like a very broad, convoluted, very
It sounds real.
of thinking about stuff.
oh, Piper, just say out loud that you wish you could, that your opinions and what you said actually mattered to other people, so you could do what I'm doing. It's fine. I understand. I understand you're jealous. It's okay. Take it in. Live with it.
Okay, am I missing humor here?
Yeah, the guy saying that I'm a jobless liberal getting online, and he's just complaining. He just comes in
Can
and
we find out
complains.
what he does for a living, just for the hell of it?
Jobless, yes, no benefits. Oh yeah? Okay. No medical. Okay. Wow, my medical card would disagree with you, but you know.
I have a prediction. I think we buy Dubai.
We what?
I think we buy Dubai.
I don't think we buy Dubai.
I don't think we buy Dubai because the fact is that there's too many brown people.
There's too many brown people in Qatar and in Saudi Arabia, and they're as thick as thieves.
The thing is that they're not here on this soil, so apparently that makes it okay in some people's eyes. Just can't be here.
The problem is that there's nobody in Dubai right now. It's a ghost town. A friend of mine's an executive at one of the hotels there, and it's a ghost. It's over, and they are looking at creative ideas. And one creative idea that's been floated is turning it into the playground for the United States and having the U.S. come in and operate it.
I mean, I guess we'll find out. I guess I should take my own advice and never say never, but
Right. Six Flags Dubai opening in January of 2029.
You're a nurse getting ready to go to work. Well, I feel bad for everyone you work on, Piper. I really feel bad for them.
Why?
Because this is the person that's coming in and going, another, you know, jobless liberal.
Oh, she's the real worker and you're just complaining.
Correct.
Got it.
I'd like to bring up something about the courts and what we're dealing with right now, if that's okay.
Sure.
So
It is, guys, please don't hate me. I'm racing off to my Monday morning.
Yeah.
And I'd love to find you later today to talk about a couple other topics.
Sure.
Is there a mid to late afternoon-ish?
Yeah, I got something at 5 my time, so 2 your time. But other than that, I can talk whenever.
5 o'clock your time is, what did you say, 2 o'clock
2
my
your
time?
time. Yeah.
And what time does your 5 o'clock end?
I don't know. It's
But you're done then. You're done. So it
it'll
has
be
to-
like an hour. Probably.
All right, so why don't we shoot for like the 6:30 your time-ish,
Okay.
if that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
All right.
have a good day.
See you, Aaron.
And again, sorry if I just jumped on top of you today. My apologies. It
Well,
really
no.
was. I'm out of practice. So sorry, Scott.
Oh, no worries at all, buddy, especially coming from me. I've done it a million times myself. It's
Yeah,
not
but
a big deal, really.
It doesn't make it right. And you just stepped on me again. No, I'm kidding.
See you, man.
So with our courts, especially SCOTUS, one of the things that is slowing things down and making things frustrating for a lot of us is the fact that SCOTUS will not hear a case unless there is real harm, not the potential of harm. They will not rule on speculation. They cannot say, oh, well, this could be a problem. They wait until it actually is. And right now, with all of the constitutional things going on, it's really, really frustrating because we're trying to keep the harm from happening. And so, yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Well, Jelly, that's the nature of all courts, not just SCOTUS. Courts hear cases and controversies. The Supreme Court will not give what you're talking about is what's known as an advisory opinion. In other words, the president can't go, or Congress can't go to the court and say, look, we're thinking about passing this law X, Y, and Z. Will that be constitutional if we do it? You'll get crickets from the court because they don't give advisory opinions. They wait until
Exactly.
they wait until there's an actual, it's known as a case or controversy.
Mm-hmm. Right,
And
but
by
I'm
the way,
just saying, like,
that's one of the reasons why Trump's deal on the slush fund he was trying to set up was knocked out because there was no case or controversy there, since Trump represented both sides of the controversy. He was the boss of the DOJ making the deal with him. So that got thrown out because of that.
Yeah, and that's kind of exactly my point. I know that that's the way the courts operate and how they always have. But, you know, with some of these constitutional decisions, or lack thereof, the arguments and whatnot, because a harm hasn't been committed yet, whether it's constitutional or unconstitutional in nature, you know, we can't get preemptive decisions because of that. Just like you said, because the harm hasn't happened yet. But I think a lot of people are finding it really frustrating that we have these constitutional questions and the way we have to go about filing for them.
Well,
I
sure.
think a lot of people are frustrated about that because we don't want the harm to happen. You know, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I actually, that's the way it should be, though, Jelly, because you don't want the court becoming another. If they were to talk about what could happen before it happens, that's called the legislative process, and that's not part of the judicial process. So they would then be acting as de facto legislators, and that's why they don't do it.
Yep. I get it. I'm just expressing, what a lot of people are, have concerns about as far as that goes. We have a process for a reason. You're absolutely clear on that. And maybe it'll help people to understand too, hearing it from you, why we have it that way. So thank you.
I mean, having a basic IQ test to qualify to vote would, and literally is doing the exact same thing that they used to do to black people when they got rights. So I understand the frustration that allows people to say things like that, but you need to hear how what you're saying comes across, because we literally did that to people that we didn't allow to get educated in the first place in order to prevent them from voting. If we believe that everyone who's a citizen should have a right to say in what our society looks like, we need to not put in barriers. What we need to do is do a better job of educating all people and not set up things for failure, which is what we're doing right now. We're lessening the education that we give people because the people in charge want them to be uneducated on this stuff before they get in. That's not likely to happen with the cuts to education. Are we talking about where we want to go, or are we talking about what's happening right now? Like, there's no question on the problems that are going on in the world right now. If all we're ever going to do is say, well, we can't talk about it because, look at what's happening right now. No, we need to, where do we want the country to go? What do we want the country to become? And how do we vote and make sure something like that happens? What does that look like? What does fixing the problem look like?
And to add to your comment too, is how do we kind of educate generations to come to understand what civics is and what civil service is, and how it affects our country and why it's important. And the rights and responsibility and that we have for voting. And I know I've said this really, and it's very quick, and I know I've said this before, but there was a time when I was like an older teenager, early 20s, and I watched some some country was able to vote for the first time, and people camped out for days in line so that they could cast a vote. And the lines were extremely long, and that just always made an imprint into my life, into my thing, that these people understood that.
Yeah, and I do get the frustration with people who are willfully ignorant getting the same vote that we get. Unfortunately, that's our system, folks, and you cannot an IQ test I don't even know how that would be effectuated. Number one, and number two, it's wildly unconstitutional. So we're never going to have that. So
and two things I want to say. So one, voting is effective. You want to know how voting's effective? Because if voting wasn't effective, they wouldn't be doing so much stuff around the country constantly to make you either not want to vote or not be able to vote. If voting had no value, they wouldn't need to do anything to make it hard to impossible to vote in the first place. And the other thing that I want to say is, where did I say? They are not recruiting a lot of youngsters to the right. Actually, are they recruiting some? Sure, just like there's some in every generation. The fact is if you look at a lot of the people that are on the right and as youngsters, most of them are either becoming completely disillusioned with all parties completely and aren't taking part because they realize that everything this administration told them was bullshit. Or they are actually, starting to realize that it's not working. Does that mean there are none? Of course there are those on the right, and most of them are men, young men, because young men are struggling right now because older men are teaching the worst aspects of humanity to these young men, and they're listening.
Yeah. Is it true that in the election of 2024, Gen Z moved to the right? Harris did still win that demographic, but only by a few points, whereas Biden won it by 22 points. Right now, Gen Z is about 30 points in the Democratic column. So that was a one and done thing that was done primarily for economic reasons. And the largest group that has swung back to the Democrats among Gen Z, although they were the ones who shifted to Trump, are Gen Z males who are shifting back to the Democratic column. So I don't think that's going to be a big concern. It's a big concern, but it's a big concern for the Republicans, not the Democrats. They are coming back in droves to the Democratic Party by even more than Biden won them in 2020.
And when you talk about going from one extreme to the other, here's the thing about that. So what someone considers extreme is relative. It used to be considered extreme to say that there should be no slavery. That used to be considered an extreme perspective. They're extreme. It does. Again, we sit here and we say, "Oh, we can't have all these extreme ideas." No, the problem is we don't have the ability to have conversations anymore about things because we're literally not. We're so focused on teams right now that we aren't talking to each other. It's all about winning. It's where when in the end, you and I, all of us here, may agree on fundamentals, but because it's all about winning, we don't end up talking. Because it's all about the R or the D or the progressive or the conservative, and that's what we've got to stick to, or even a religion. If we can't agree on fundamentals, That's what's preventing us. The stuff people stand for, who cares what they stand for? I don't know why people are so obsessed. It's never truly worked. Every generation struggles. False. Not struggles is a too generic of a term. No generation, at least that is alive right now, struggled in the way this generation is struggling. Not one of them.
It makes me think about how, if you look at the history of the world and what caused huge amount of change within an area or a society, it usually had to be that they were very disparaged between the social classes, economically, socially. You ended up having a large chasm between the two. And unfortunately, I think what people are starting to be very concerned, I'm being very concerned with, is seeing that chasm splitting. And I'm not saying anything's necessarily going to happen, but I'm just saying if you look at the history of the world, that's when stuff tends to rock and then make big changes.
Sean,
Sean, your comments are not helpful, and they are, quite frankly, revolting.
yep. And also, they didn't struggle worse. They struggled differently in the 30s and 40s. It was a different kind of struggle. That's why saying something, America is revolting. Okay.
And he also said, death to America. This guy is a whack job.
He's gone.
So, Mike, I was going over our ballot measures last night, and I found it rather interesting that we only have a few, I'll call them positions, where we actually have more than one candidate in my area. And things like the courts, sheriff, school board, things like that, they are all Republicans. There's not a single Democrat choice or independent choice. I got to find a way to fix that for next time.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it's gotten better. You look all around. There are more choices for people in every state in the country than there have probably ever been. Which is good. That's what it should be. Every district in every position should have at least two choices.
Yeah, I was just really shocked to see, especially the school board, Republican, 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 and you can pick three. And I'm like, awesome. So we're only gonna teach our kids that side.
Oh, Lawrence, you would know all about crying all day.
Well, and that's why, going into our local elections is extremely important, that a lot of people don't necessarily always talk about, right? As our school board and our county commissioners and our mayors and our city councils and our state assemblies, and those are what's going to affect much of what happens in our particular societies. So, I'm sorry that you had, only Republicans on the school board, because then that affects what the kids are learning, right? That affects how the money is being spent. That, you know, there's no balance there, for the education of all the children and what's being taught. So, that's another thing, is what the local, state down are really, really, I would say, almost more important in a lot of ways.
Adam, I don't think a majority of Americans think about it one way or another. I don't think Americans think at all about. I think a majority of Americans don't think about Canada at all, if we're being honest.
Great portion of Americans are selfish and they don't care not only what's going on in the world, but don't even care what's going on around them. We have
Quite
a
right.
very apathetic society.
Especially in terms of foreign policy. The only time Americans pay attention to foreign policy is when planes are crashing into our buildings or we're being attacked at Pearl Harbor. Outside of that, Americans don't give a damn about foreign policy, and that's a shame.
Yep. Anything Canada has allowed US to exploit the resources. We have such low population. I mean, sure, Canada has given the US like massive discounts on oil. Like massive. And it's not even US, has given US companies massive discounts on oil. Not all of them. I think they're being kept dumb on purpose. I always struggle when people say anything is on purpose, because I think that gives a lot more credit to people that I think are stupid. I think, again, to kind of go with what Jelly was saying, I just think there's a lot of people that don't think past themselves and their own wallets or their own power, and they will just do and say whatever they need, whatever they feel is necessary to get more of it. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just not giving them enough credit. But from what I've seen, from my experience, especially when it comes to conspiracy theories, and not saying yours is, but just in general, when there are things happening that make no sense or seem stupid, we tend to give people more credit than, like, we tend to read into it a little bit more and give them more credit for thinking about something that is usually a lot simpler, because that's what it's supposed, like, that's the way it works. Like, it's so weird, because it's like, as the world gets more complicated, it becomes easier to believe in conspiracy theories, because conspiracy theories work through our own frameworks to what makes sense of something that doesn't make sense at all. And because of that, you end up trying to decide what everyone else is thinking about everything, because that's what you would think about everything. And most of the time, people aren't actually thinking what you're thinking.
Well, and we've also,
You go.
oh, I was going to just say, and, I mean, because of the communication aspects and social media and all that kind of stuff, some of these theories are able to be broadly spread, and a lot of them, I think, have a lot of fear attached to them, as far as the theories go. I had another point and it just went out my head. Oh no. And it was really cool too.
Well, if you think about it, you can obviously say it. It is always important to question everything. It always was. It's not more important today than it was. It's just different. There's a lot more to question because there's just a lot more information than there used to be. The questioning is what we all should be doing all the time. The problem is we think because too many people think because they did a Google search on their question that whatever answer that Google search gives is the truth, or like, but they don't realize that they asked the question incorrectly to get any real answer. They don't go any farther. They just read the headlines. They listen to someone else say something that just makes sense to them. And because it makes sense to their brain, that must mean it's true. How many times have we heard people saying, well, it's just common sense. It doesn't matter if you believe that it's common sense. Especially when it's not true. So I hear you. I hear you that it's important to question everything, but if we're not doing it correctly, then we're still, it's just feeding the conspiracy theories, which is what's happening right now.
Well, and I know what the other thing I was going to say. And not only that, the other comment that I think has really affected a lot of the way people look at things is the term fake news, right? Everything was fake news. And then that went into also the clickbait and such. But I think fake news was a huge thing because you actually had what was considered a news station at the time perpetuating that, where people don't trust what's being said and are unwilling to research the things behind that and using critical thinking. I know I'm on kind of a roll. I've been up since 3:00 my time. I'm on a roll today, but that's kind of some of my thoughts on that.
How do you feel about I don't think distractions are making people dumb. I think people are lazy. People look, as you said in your second half, they choose the easiest path. I don't think it's because they're dumb. I think it's because they're lazy. I think most people are lazy, and because there's more information in our faces now than there used to be, it's actually easier to be lazy. Just find the quickest thing that makes sense to your brain and just go with that. I don't think that's a dumb thing. I think I think people are tired, people are overworked, people are stressed, I think there's a lot of thing. What about lazy versus safety? People's brains are wild things. And your brain has the ability to convince you of almost anything when there's enough fear and stress involved, because you go into protection mode. And when you're in protection mode, you find the easiest route that your brain can handle at that moment. And most of the time we stick with it. And I honestly think that's what we're dealing with. And which is why we're seeing such a difficulty in getting past it, because there's just a lot of people that have been convinced to be afraid of pretty much everything.
I
Why
was
I go
gonna
back
bring.
to apathy.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead, Clara.
I was just gonna say a couple of really quick points. A lot of people need to remember that back in history, education was considered a privilege. And so people really fought to have that privilege for a wider amount of swath of people. And now it's being, I hate to say it this way, taken for granted that
We lost you, Clara.
I think
I'm just
your audio
saying
is
that there.
your
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Clara, your audio was cutting out.
Anyways, no, I was not that we want to uneducate people or take away education for people. I'm just saying that there was a time where education was considered more of a privilege, and thus it was valued more
Well, it was something that only
in
wealthy
general.
people could get.
Right. And then the other thing about safety versus lazy, you know, there's quite a few people in this community know that I deal with significant mental health issues and stuff. And you know, there are times where I have to completely disconnect from anything because of the fact that my brain and my nervous system can't handle it. And then I have to slowly become more engaged again. You know, and so safety wise, you have to be able to step back and be safe in order to be able to perpetuate and be helpful. And I'm done. I'm land my Gulf Stream.
So yeah, I was saying that's why I keep going back to apathy, right? Widespread apathy, that's how we got here. We weren't paying attention. You know, for anybody that doesn't know, apathy is a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. Webster Dictionary. Apathy got us here. And I would say, kind of along the lines with Mike, we have the information. The information is at our fingertips. The information is being put in your face every time you turn on the TV or open an app. I would argue that it actually takes work to be apathetic at this point. You know, just
I
I
agree,
mean, it's right
Jelly.
there. Sit there for 5 minutes, and the information's there. But no, we can't even do that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jelly, and the numbers prove it. I mean, take a look at American elections. 15% of people show up for a primary. 45 to 50% will show up for the midterms. That's it. And we pat ourselves on the back anytime we crack 60% in a presidential election. That's the lowest turnout of any industrialized nation.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when you only have 15% of people showing up for a primary, I mean, technically we're a democracy, but is that really a functioning democracy when only 15% of the people show up? And then we complain about our choices in November? Now, if you're not going out to vote in the primaries, folks, that's where you get to choose who's going to run in November. And Germany has had their last election was a snap election. They had 82% of the people show up. That's our problem, folks.
There absolutely is a trade war going on. What are you talking about? Like, it's straight up happened. One's been announced. One's, you know, they had an agreement. Trump changed it. Canada said no. Trump announced 50% tariffs. Canada announced reciprocal tariffs. That's literally the definition of a trade war. The tariffs may not be active yet, but he still started the war. It's the best thing that could happen to us? What?
Well, and not only that, Jelly, your point was completely, I think, 100% on point with what's going on. but I also think that the educational system, society, and parents have advocated the role of um, civics and understanding this process and its importance as well. So I think there's apathy, and then I think there's abdication too.
And double, you're right. This administration is doing that kind of bullshit. Nobody's going to lose a lot of work. Sure, there'll be loss of work on both sides until, you know, it'll probably be more in the United States because the United States government is idiots. Canada will just create places. Thank you. Will create, you know, trade routes somewhere else. But there, of course, there will be loss of jobs. That's what trade wars do. They always do. That's the unfortunate reality of trade wars is people lose jobs no matter what. Even if in the end it becomes good for one of the countries, that's welcome to trade wars. Because right now, Canada and the US are the two closest to each other. So they've got massive supply chains set up. And you can't just flip that on a switch with a switch. It takes time to make new supply chains and trade routes and everything. Look at what we're always decision. Well, yeah, because again, the United States and Canada are each other's largest trading partners. Of course people are gonna be nervous about it. A lot of Americans are nervous about it too. That's what we talk about here. How nervous we are about it. Canada's been too dependent.
That's a good point for sure. That's a really good point. And that's one of the things that Carney is doing. And you guys are happy about that, and you should be happy about that.
Yep. You know, I have no issue. I think it's wonderful that countries are starting trade deals with each other that don't involve the United States. I think the United States should have long ago stepped away from the position that we put ourselves in post World War II.
Yeah, and take a look at the trade deal just signed by the EU and South America. That's the largest trade deal in world history. And guess who's not part of it? The United States. We did this to ourselves, folks. You know, the world keeps spinning. And if the United States wants to try and disrupt our long-standing alliances, that's fine. They'll make deals with other countries. We're not the only player in town. And we're paying one hell of a price for that.
Yep. And yeah,
Well,
once those trade routes are done, which again, people always complained as to why people were trying to make deals with the United States. Well, because they knew that no matter what, it was going to take a couple years for new trade routes and new systems and new supply chains to be built. And until then, whether they liked it or not, the United States was all these people's biggest trading partner. So you cannot just, thank you. You can't just flip a switch and say, oh, we're going to start trading with other people. It takes time. It takes time to do that. So they spent the time working on deals that tried to keep things going with the United States while also making trade deals with other countries and making new supply chains and new trade routes and all that other stuff. So this is something that needed to happen. This is something that needed to happen for the world, regardless of how I know it's going to, hurt a lot of people in this country. And I think it's absolutely horrible what we are doing and what we have done in order to hold on to power. Power is going to shift. Power's been shifting for a while, but yeah. I mean, arguably, the best thing that could happen is a more even power distribution. I hope that happens.
You know, Pat in chat said that the United States has isolated itself, and that is exactly correct. Those were our actions. We did that to ourselves. And Pat also added, you can't rewind this after Trump. Trust in the U.S. is gone because you've enabled someone that destroyed it. Yes, for now. But as Mike was saying before, and it's worth repeating, nothing is forever. But it will take an awful lot of work, and the next president in 2028 won't be able to fix it all, maybe not even in 2032. It's going to take a while to repair this damage, because when trust is broken, whether you're talking about between nations or between individuals, when trust is broken, it's a long road to build that trust back. But to say it can never be built back is a painting with just a little bit too broad of a brush. But it's going to take a hell of a lot of work, and it's going to take a hell of a lot of work over multiple administrations to repair the trust that the United States, in and of itself, has willfully destroyed for no valid reason. I would like anybody in chat to tell us how we are better off for destroying our relationships with NATO, the EU, Japan, Taiwan, Australia, South Korea. Please tell me how we are better off for having done that.
And I think there was too much. I think the United States has become too dependent on a lot of countries, not just Canada, Mexico, China, like just everywhere. Again, a global economy was created, and when sane people hear that, they go, let's have every country, because everyone's got different amounts of resources, different climates, different everything that their countries are just better at. Let's work as a globe and have trade to do that. And instead of actually doing that, the United States just thought that they were, American exceptionalism has run rampant in this country. And too many here thought that we were somehow better than other people. And that's not something, it's not true. And so, yeah, we became very dependent on every country. Hey, Susan. No, I won't put you on, Darren.
The other thing too is one thing that we also need to talk about is a lot of the soft power that we had, and I know Scott knows that I talk about this often, is that we had within different countries with different organizations. The fact that we have pulled that back also allows for a vacuum to be there for other countries to come in and take over that as well. And so that exceptionalism reach is shrinking within the world itself, is my opinion.
Well, we're paying a hell of a price for unilaterally dismantling our soft power. Our soft power is what made us strong. It wasn't our military power. It was our soft power. USAID is only the most prominent example in that. Saved 750,000 lives a year that are now unalived because we've cut it. And by the way, that's just giving money to foreign countries. USAID money was spent within the borders of the United States, buying our farm goods, buying medicines, buying machinery from American manufacturers. That's what USAID did. And we have destroyed our soft power, and you're quite right, Clara, because China's stepping in rapidly and gleefully where the United States has unilaterally abdicated its role.
Your ideals and morals is what made U.S. respected. U.S. hasn't.
And that's something that is going to be extremely difficult to get back and have people
See, and here's the
you
thing.
know for
Here's the thing. The more I have done this, because I've been doing political as a much vaster focus for the last 4 years, especially. I would argue America did not really ever have ideals and morals like we pretended we did. And we definitely didn't have freedom like we pretended we did. And I think what we're seeing right now is just is the lack of freedom that kind of lived in the background coming out in force in the foreground now. Slavery never went away. We're still dealing with friggin' misogyny up the wazoo in this country. We're so many in this country are completely okay with taking bodily autonomy away from women. This is not people are okay taking away people's access to voting as long as it means they can win. So this is my problem when we say ideals and morals, because I would argue America's morals are pretty shitty and have been for a long time, based on everything I've learned.
You know, somebody in chat a few moments ago raised a very good point. They said, how do we know America is not going to go crazy again and elect another crazy man? And that's the point, isn't it? Let us assume, just for the sake of argument, that the Democrats win a trifecta, and in 2028 we have the most normal president in the world, whoever that may be, a completely normal, traditional president. Problem over, right? No, it's not over, because the election of 2024 taught the world that the election of 2016 was not a fluke. So they are not going to trust us just because we have one election and elect one normal president, because as the Speaker of the French Parliament said, their national security cannot rely upon a handful of uninterested voters in Wisconsin every 4 years. And they're right. That's why it's going to take multiple administrations to repair the damage that's been done. I'm not saying it's going to take 50 years or even 40 or even 30 years, but
Who
it's
knows?
not going to take 4 years.
Yeah.
It's going to take longer than that.
Is it a delusion? No, it is, because I think there are people in this country that truly believe and live those ideals and morals that we were taught. I think it grew into something that changed from having. I think we were unable to see past the propaganda. We believed the propaganda so much, or we heard the propaganda so much, that we started believing it and not realizing that, we still live in a country where, if a black person goes into a store, they are watched and they are accused and they are not believed more often, way more often, like drastically more often than any white person. That's just a reality. But there are people that think that slavery doesn't exist in this, that racism no longer exists in this country. And there's nothing in existence going on in this country that could actually make someone truly believe that, except the propaganda that has come from the people that actually are the racists, that are the problem. They've said it so many times that people just started believing it.
well, and not only that, I mean, if you expand on it further, the Voters' Right Act and the Civil Rights Act have to be re-upped every, what is it, 26 years or something like that? I mean, these are not in our Constitution. These are things that need to be voted on every 26 years. And I mean, that should flabbergast people.
Well, Clara, we don't have to worry about the Voting Rights Act being voted on after the Supreme Court just eviscerated it.
True.
You know, Section 2 is the only important part of the Voting Rights Act, and they just threw it out.
I actually cried over that.
Yeah, well, the Supreme Court told us, congratulations, there's no more racism. Everybody can breathe a sigh of relief now. Woo, that was
The
good.
fact that came out of the mouth of a black man is the part that hurt the most, because I could see every racist white person using that as a rallying cry for the next 20 years.
Not only that, but the fact that that black man even got where he was because of the civil rights movement. He benefited from all those things that we put
Yes.
into place, all of those protections.
The ironies surrounding Justice Thomas are almost unending. He has a lot of balls, that guy.
The Supreme Court will not be dissolved in the coming government. That won't happen. They could make some changes.
The coming government has no right to dissolve the Supreme Court because of Article 3 of the Constitution. However, the incoming government can adjust how the Supreme Court is run, and I hope that they do.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely love to see one justice per district.
I mean, there should be reform. There needs to be reform. There needs to be reform in our government, both federally and state. And there just needs to be some massive reform. Does the Constitution have the power it once had? I mean, it has the exact same power it always had. I mean, the fact is every document that runs every country only has as much power as the people that enforce it. So does it have the same power? It has the exact same power that it always has. No different.
What can Congress do with the Supreme Court? Obviously, they can't get rid of Article 3 of the Constitution, but there's nothing in the Constitution that says how many justices should be on it, and that's up to Congress. So 13 justices, term limits, and a code of ethics. The Supreme Court is the only court in the United States, state or federal, that doesn't have a code of ethics, which is disgusting. So there should be a code of ethics, 13 justices, and term limits.
This land will not go to a regional government system, and the federal government is gone. No. Won't happen. Won't happen anytime soon. The only two possibilities are we keep things going the way they are, except work towards making like amendment changes. You will see. Okay. Or anarchy. Those are the two. And I mean, that doesn't mean something can't come out after it, but we're not like this. It's not how it works.
There's too much that's intertwined between the state governments and the federal governments, and the way this country works.
It's why the idea of communism. It's the reason communism would never work right now. We are too global of a society. Both governments are gone. Both governments are gone. No, they're not. They still exist.
Not only that, vis-a-vis the 10th Amendment, we have a federalist type of governing system as it is. The states have a ton of powers on their own.
Mm-hmm.
We already have a bifurcated government. We not only have separation of powers in the federal government, but we have vis-a-vis federalism. The 10th Amendment reserves everything that is not specifically given to the federal government resides in the state governments.
Our government is bankrupt. Our government
Hence,
has 40 trillion in debt. Yep.
hence a lot of why you have different states that are regulating and limiting women's health issues is because of that as well.
What step?
Sure. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's tons. There's different standards of living, and I'm not just talking about economics. In all 50 states, the states have a lot of power.
What 5 steps can best serve to get America back on track? I'm not sure there are only 5. This again, we're dealing with about 50 years of deregulation and you know, slight small changes that have gotten us to the point where we're at. And I don't think there are things that, what could, gosh, putting things in place that cause for some level of accountability in government. I mean, that would go a long way.
What things can be changed? Ranked choice voting, number 1. Number 2, get rid of the electoral college. Number 3, term limits and age limits. That'd be a good start right there. There's 3. I'm sure we could. Number 4, reinstitute Roe v. Wade, and number 5, get campaign finance reform.
Put the United States under the authority of the under the oversight of the World Criminal Court.
I don't see us joining the ICC anytime soon.
Neither do I, but it would be great.
He's just said what 5 things would help get us on the right track. He didn't say what were possible. What the possibilities
you're right,
of them
you're
happen.
right. It was a wish list question, and you're right.
A couple of things I'd like to say. Yeah, I absolutely would love to no longer see people over 80 making choices for me and my family. Another thing is that with the Supreme Court, yes, 1 per district, like I said earlier, but I'd like to see the districts revamped. I mean, there's no way that, the district that California's in should have the same representation as, the district that Massachusetts is in, right? I mean, there's such a small little bit. I mean, oh gosh, yep. Sorry, words.
Trump will not enact martial law. There is no, and again, I'm not saying he won't do anything, but there is no method set up that would allow for Trump to actually enact countrywide martial law. That's not a thing that he has the capability of doing, really. The system.
The talk is that he'll declare some sort of national emergency, which the executive does have the right to do it, but only under certain parameters, and I doubt he'll be able to meet those parameters. And secondly, I don't know, even under a national emergency, what authority that would give the executive branch to run elections. The Constitution is pretty clear that elections are run by the states with some input from Congress, but 0 input from the executive branch.
He hasn't planted anything in blue states. Again, ICE, there aren't enough people in ICE to do it. It's not difficult. Of course it's difficult. There's 300 million people in this country. It's not difficult. What do you think? ICE is a front. Oh, okay.
Well, and I was going to bring up, when you guys are talking about that and martial law or state of emergency or whatever, again, these are conspiracy theories that are being perpetuated because they're based on fear.
Sure.
So, that was one thing that I was going to talk about. The other thing was, and I'm going to say it again, this is why local elections are going to affect you the most in your day-to-day life more than federal will. Federal, you know, is the distribution of money for education and infrastructure and all of those type of things, rather than the day-to-day Tommy is reading this book, but it's banned in another state. You know, there's certain civil rights and everything that is federal too, but you know, it's going to affect you most.
It's come up a couple times in chat that Trump will try and delay or cancel the midterm elections. Folks, we had elections during the Civil War. We had elections during the Great Depression. We had elections during World War I, and we had elections during World War II. We're going to have our elections. Now, will Trump try and interfere with ancillary interference, such as voter suppression, lawsuits? Yeah, there's nothing he won't try and do.
Mhm.
But as for delaying the elections or canceling the midterms, nah, that's not going to happen.
Again, so here's the thing that we forget, and I think the reason that we don't see it right now is because what the way Trump is doing it is so much broader and massive in comparison to how other presidents have done it. Every president has done something that has been found to be unconstitutional. Every president, straight up, bar none. There's never been one that hasn't. If you look at how this administration has worked, no, not true. No, absolutely true. Every president has passed something that has turned out, that has been decided by the courts in some way, shape, or form to be unconstitutional. Every single one of them. Okay, whatever. The fact is, if you look at a lot of what's happening, the outwardly on the media, they are saying a lot of stuff, but when you get in the courts, they're saying something completely different. Like when they're actually in the court, if you look at a lot of the filings, what this administration is saying to the media and what they're actually saying to a judge, it so often counter each other. It's kind of disgusting. Roberts Courts has control of that. I mean, yeah, I mean, every judge in the end makes their decisions to an extent based on opinion. Name them. Name every decision that every president has made that has been decided to be unconstitutional. We don't have time. And I don't know them off the top of my head, but every president has done it. Every president has tried to pass something that has ended up being brought to court and found to be unconstitutional. You can say nope all you want, but it's true. Again, has this president done it more? Of course they have. Of course they have. This president has done it to an extreme, to an extent that probably has never been seen by any president. Doesn't change the fact that every president has done it. Just the way it is.
And I would venture to say that one thing that Trump has done is inflamed the lowest denominator of our society, and allowed them to come out and bring their rhetoric in, and he's inflamed them to do that. And you know, and that's some of what we're seeing as well in society.
Christy, What are you talking about? We are not pro-Trump. Optimus. I disagree that Carney is a disgrace, but I'm also not Canadian, so I hate MAGA. Okay. I mean, I'm tired of it too, but
Well, my friend, I have an appointment, so I'm going to have to drop down now.
well, I need to get off too, so.
Okay, then I'll wait till the end.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate you. If you aren't following over on the tube, I do post episodes 3 times a week. And there are people running for Congress, people running for just office in general, and I'm expanding it to talk with other groups of people. The one thing I love doing is learning about people and learning about their journeys. So if you're interested in learning about people and their journeys, come on, watch. Definitely watch the people that are running for office. They need visibility, name recognition. That's how we get them to win. That's how we get them in office. That's how we get the change that we really want. Yeah. Thank you so very much. Probably starting next week, you're going to start seeing me a whole lot more because I'm going to be streaming either longer streams or twice a day, like during the week. So I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look. We're figuring it out, but there's going to be a lot of changes going on, a lot of cool stuff. Yeah. You guys are amazing, just the way you are. And I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys.